Hey everybody, and welcome to Thought of the Walk episode 12. I am sorry that I missed the Sunday episode. I have shingles and it has been flaring back up. So reality has hit in about how many hours of the day I can work, and that's what's happening. Prioritizing getting the coffee orders out. Today is June 15th, and it's the 15th of the month. The 15th of the month is prepping day for me. And as I mentioned earlier in a different episode, a lot of people have the wrong perception on prepping. They see prepping as hoarding. And I'm showing you right now this gas can. What the 15th means is I need to get a gas can and fill it with 5 gallons of gas. And I did just find metal jerry cans, which are much more durable than this one. But what I've got, this is maize. This is just an example. And sorry about the noise. You've got the freeze dryer right there going. I took this, see that? That's a metal tag that you put on trees that does not wear out over time, and you can take just a normal pen and write. 5th month of the year, I pour that into my car and I refill it. It's the May can. I want to talk a little bit about this can today though. This is an example of government regulation gone horribly wrong, which happens most of the time with government regulations. Here's the problem they're solving. The problem we have is that old gas cans allow fumes to escape, which means through evaporation over time, fuel is being released into the air instead of being used for our cars, right? Well, this gas can, I'm going to bring it away from the freeze dryer so you don't have to hear the hum the whole time. This gas can is compliant with regulation now. It no longer has the letting the air in here. It has this complex nozzle that we use. Now, if you were like me and have limited hand dexterity, the problem with this nozzle is that you need to have a hand that works and doesn't, have developing arthritis or whatever. I don't know what's wrong with my hand, but there's something. And as we get older, we get arthritis. Oh, I'm supposed to have this cap over too. What that means is that in order for me to get gas out of this, I have to take the whole nozzle off and pour, or I have to get a friend to help me, or I have to replace this with one that allows even more evaporation than the former gas cans. So they have ruined gas cans under the guise of trying to keep the fumes from evaporating. The other problem with this can is that when you actually do get the nozzle to work, many times because of the weird way you have to hold them, it's not super stable in your aiming of the gas into whatever you're refilling, and you end up pouring gas on the ground, on the equipment, all over the place. So we have traded, through government regulation, the fear of having too many fumes released into the atmosphere with we're just dumping gas straight on the ground. Which one's better? I think the former state of affairs was in fact better. And that happens a lot with other government regulations on many things. We're trying to fix a problem, so we put something in place. Here's another example. Racism. We don't have enough diversity in contracts. Most of the contracts that the government puts in place favor, the old white dudes. Old white dudes. And what that means is that they have changed their contracting to add weight and priority to minority-owned businesses. I'm a minority because I'm female, just for the record. Other minorities, if you're like female and a person of color, that gives you extra points because you got 2 things going on. Disadvantaged businesses, all of these things. And to get a contract, they will put heavier weight on bids from those sources. Okay, you know what this really looks like in the real world of contracting? The people who were doing the work anyway bid projects out, and they set it up so that it is billed by a minority business. Let's say mine is a minority business. That means I enter into a contract with ABC government to do, let's just say we're putting up a school. We're building a school. I put that contract in to do their electrical wiring, and then I outsource to my subcontractor, e.g., the original person who was going to be doing these sorts of contracts in that area most of the time anyway, because they've already been kind of in with the relationships and that sort of thing. So I bill them, I bill the government, I hire the people who are going to do it anyway. I keep a percentage of that contract in my pocket, and that's all the work I do. The work I do is creating the invoice, and that's basically a gender tax at that point, right? I'm the company and the taxpayers are paying an additional amount of money to me for doing no work or almost no work because of my female status, so that I can outsource to the people who are going to do the work anyway. That's the government fixing a problem. Does that empower minorities to do more electrical contracting? Does that empower minorities to whatever, have a business that they're running? Not really. It actually compounds, in my opinion, it makes the perception or the racism, if you will, worse. Because now people know that's going on, they get pissed off about it, right? Rather than letting us fall to our merits. And if I am a woman-owned business and I do the electrical wiring and I run my staff, that's a little bit different. But in the effort to further diversity, the regulations that go into effect or the policies that are being implemented, in my opinion, appear to be doing the opposite of what they were intended to do. And it appears to be ratcheting up tensions where there didn't need to be tensions to begin with, right? If we evaluate a person on their merits rather than on the merits of their background or the merits of their skin color, which I know sounds like kumbaya hippie stuff that nobody could ever do, but maybe they can. Maybe they can. If we empower that kind of behavior, then we don't have the issues that we are creating through regulation, making worse through regulation. It's just like the gas can where, dumping gas on the ground is suddenly better than allowing a few fumes to come out or coming up with a different way to capture those fumes. Letting the market take care of that. I'm going to go back to that gas can and show you something. So I bought this gas can, and it's the latest in gas can technology. That's why I'm really excited. I found the jerry can. When I bought the gas can, I opened it up, and it had this filter through which one pours the gas so that you don't get particulate matter in your lawnmower. I'm going to show you this filter, okay? The filter here, it's like a little plastic tube, for those of you who are only on the audio, with tiny little holes. And this is the epitome of making a problem worse. This was in the gas can, permanently affixed, so when you put the gas in, it goes through this, keeps particles from going in the gas. And then when you pour gas out, the particles that are in the gas can don't get into your machine, right? Well, except for if there were any particles in this, when the gas went in, they're between that and the nozzle. And I think the reason they're doing this is particles will jam up the nozzle, because the nozzle's all fancy and stuff. Well, when you pour the gas into this filter, it doesn't drain fast enough into the can. And guess what? This is an amazing thing that happens at the gas station. You pour the gas in, it bounces back and hits you and covers you in gas and dumps gas all over the floor. So now, in the effort of keeping fumes from going out, not only are we pouring gas on the floor, all over the ground, straight on this beautiful property I have here, instead of just letting some fumes come out, we are pouring gas all over ourselves and the gas station when we try to fill it. So now we have double the gas going on, and even on their slowest setting, you can't do it. So in order to fill this, it takes about 20 minutes of like quick trigger. I'm very happy that I have a toolkit in my car that was given to me by the Tactical Redneck, actually. And in that was a pair of pliers and a screwdriver, and I was able to prise this out and rip it out. And you can see it's got a little bit of damage on the one area on the corner, right? Because you couldn't just take it out. I had to take pliers and a screwdriver to unsnap it from the inside of the gas can so that I could fill my gas can. While I was there, I watched this woman try to fill hers, and literally she was still there trying to get gas in it when I left, complaining about it. I did offer her my pliers, but she wasn't ready to take apart her gas can like I was. I'll tell you what, guys, by prepping day July, I will have I will have my jerry cans going so I don't have to deal with one of these. I don't have it today. So what I'm supposed to do is go to Home Depot or wherever and buy a gas can. I think what I'm going to do today for prepping day is I will order the jerry can, and on the day it arrives this month, I will fill it. And if it arrives next month, because I'm going to order next month's too, I'll just fill 2 cans. It's not a big deal. And I'll put my tag on it for this one being 6 and for next month being 7. Either way, I am not participating in this anymore now that I don't have to. The problem I had with this one is that jerry cans were not easy to find, and I didn't want to get a knockoff brand that wasn't going to last. I want something that's going to last. So now I have that solved. And back to the original point of prepping day, the reason I have one day a month to be prepping day, it's the day that I used to go and start evaluating what needs to be refilled in my pantry and that sort of thing, is that counter to hoarding, the way I view pantry management and management of your stuff, we just had an event, so there's some bleach and stuff out here, is that it's actually not bad to store stuff. And one of the things I don't understand about people who do prep is the long-term, like 20-year food storage. I guess that's like ease of use, but I consider it a failure. This is all of my food. This is going to last me through December, along with, things that are in that freezer right there. And my goal for anything in my pantry is it's no more than 2 years old. I prefer to use everything up within a year and have a system of refilling it. And I do that because I want to be buying what I would use anyway and then use it. So it's a failure to me if I've not used it. And the 15-year or 20-year food storage in case of an emergency, I guess I get it, but I don't really get it, because if I store something for 15 years, I'm still not going to use it. So if I have something that will last 15 years that I'm storing, what I really want to have happen is that I've still used it within 2 years. And that's why it was really hard for me to decide to get a freeze dryer, because freeze-dried food lasts for so long. But then as I started thinking about the freeze dryer and what I could do with it, I realized 2 things. One, it's not bad to cook with freeze-dried foods. You can freeze-dry spices and that sort of thing. I can freeze-dry my eggs and not take up space in the freezer. So once I've put the energy into the eggs with the freeze dryer, then I don't have to keep them in the freezer. So that means less freezer space. And when I rehydrated freeze-dried eggs from a home freeze dryer, they tasted pretty good scrambled. Because I don't bake. I'm not using them for baking. So they taste pretty good scrambled. I don't have to store them in my freezer, which means that space is open for meats and other things I want to store, and or fewer things are in the freezer. And I will actually use them. But I paired that with a renewed interest in backpacking. And instead of buying Mountain House meals, I can make my Holler House meals and take them with me on the road. But the goal is still, with the freeze-dried stuff, use it within 2 years. I don't want a bunch of Mylar bags sitting around for 20 years with stuff in it, because that means I'm not using what I store and storing what I use, which then means I'm spending more money on storage than I should be for me personally. Now, I know other people have different priorities for this. Ease of use if there's a problem. They're expecting a lot of visitors if there's a problem, and that's totally cool. Everybody has a different way of prepping. For me, I have limited space, and I also have a limited budget. And where I've prioritized my own prepping for prepping day is to take care of myself and the immediate community around me, and we all do it together. If it was just me by myself, I wouldn't necessarily worry about taking care of my neighbors per se. I have some beans and rice stored. They can have that if that happens. But with the community I have here, which is great, 4 neighbors living near each other with the same food priorities, we can actually put in effort on things to keep costs down and raise rabbits and chickens and pigs and other stuff, and then fill everybody's freezer. And then everybody has a rotating pantry, and that means more security for everybody here if there's a job loss, if there's another tornado. We just had power out again the other night. If there's a big power outage, all of those things. It's prepping 15th, right? It's mid-month prepping day for me. Gonna make sure I get my fuel done. My pantry's good for the rest of the year, so that's not a big deal. And then I'm back on to living free in Tennessee. Hope you enjoyed this one. If you want to see the next one, I'll be recording that on the morrow.